Joe is the business unit leader for the Cargill Feed and Nutrition business globally. He has served Cargill through various management roles for nearly 28 years. In his current role, he is responsible for serving customers in more than 10,000 employees across 26 countries. He also serves as a member of the Cargill Risk Committee, which provides strategic guidance and oversight for Cargill's business risk management teams globally. Joe joined Cargill in 1985. The majority of his career was spent with Cargill Ag Horizons and grain and oilseed business units. Later, he joined the Cargill World Trading Unit in Geneva, Switzerland, if you were wondering where that was at. In 2005, Stone was given the opportunity to join CAN. He holds a bachelor's degree in agricultural economics from the University of Nebraska.
Joe serves on the Engler Entrepreneurship Board at the University of Nebraska, and he is also a member of the Campaign for Nebraska Advisory Board, and also serves on the New Millennium Academy Charter School Board in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Joe is married to the lovely Chris Stone, and together they have 2 sons, Pete and Mike. In his free time, he enjoys spending time fishing and boating with his family, as well as involvement with church activities. Please help me in welcoming Joe Stone.
Thank you guys for the kind introduction. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate you taking the time. I know that probably a lot of you had studies tonight, and I'm sure that some of you are away from your families, so thank you very much for the opportunity and come and speak to you. I've been waiting since the spring game when I bought this tie to wear it, so thanks for the opportunity to be able to do that. I really look forward to speaking with you tonight for the next 30 to 40 minutes and talk a little bit about the passion that I have for agriculture and also the students of the Engler program. And so I think I would start tonight by saying, how many of you attended Mr. Ken Green's lecture last year? Okay, pretty good group coming back. So I got to ask you the first question, how well did you pay attention? Mr. Green gave us an outstanding definition of entrepreneurship. And that definition came from Howard Stevenson, who I believe is the head of entrepreneurship at Harvard Business School. So a few of you can't answer the question because we talked about it today. Does anybody remember the definition of entrepreneurship that Mr. Green shared with us? Ken, would you like to give us the definition?
Yeah, I would. It's the pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources you currently control.
The pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources that you currently control. I think that I watched Ken Green's presentation at least a couple times, and I made my sons watch it at least once or twice as well. That's an outstanding definition by Mr. Stevenson, the pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources that you currently control. So I took a couple other things away from Ken's address last year. One is, Ken talked about simplifying. How do you make your business more simple so that your team can focus? Ken talked a lot about the importance of values and a strong culture at an organization, and we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. Ken also talked about something that's near and dear to our hearts at Cargill, and I actually showed a lot of the colleagues that I work with. Ken talked about the ability of a company like his that's small and agile and really focused to move a lot quicker and a lot faster than some of those big companies, for example, like Cargill. And so I think it's something that as we work at Cargill, we work really hard to become a more fast and nimble company. And I think Ken's point was exactly right last year. We can't be corporate, we can't be bureaucratic, and if we feel big, nobody's going to want to work for us. So thanks for coming. With that, why don't we get started? And the clicker is right here. I guess it'd only be appropriate tonight to talk about just a few remarks about the company that I work for, which is Cargill, small, or used to be small, family-owned company. We still think of ourselves as small. We have about 130,000 employees spread out over 64 countries. We're very fortunate at Cargill that the family, who owns the majority of the shares, they invest about 80 cents of every dollar of cash flow back into our company. So that's 80 cents of every dollar back into our company. What that means to us is, every year, we've got about $3 to $4 billion to invest back in Cargill. So if you do the math and you shake that all up, every 7 years, we've got to create a new Cargill. And that creates a tremendous amount of entrepreneurship. That's what drives us. Growth is really our driver. And so last year Ken talked about entrepreneurship in smaller companies, and tonight I'll talk to you a little bit about entrepreneurship in bigger companies. America needs both. We need both. We need the small companies to succeed, and I think we can leverage some of the bigness from some of our companies as well. So with that, Cargill operates in 4 key segments. Basically, I'd say that tonight we have Mike and the corn milling team here. They represent our food segment. So we have my favorite business unit, cocoa and chocolate. It's the best chocolate in the world. It's called Wilbur chocolate. If you ever get a chance to try it, it's fantastic. But we've got a cocoa business. We've got a malt business. We've got the corn milling business that our colleagues represent here tonight. We've got a flour milling business, and we've got a large worldwide soybean crushing business. Also down here, we've got a large trading component to Cargill. So we charter about 130 million tons of ships a year. Those ships are hauling everything from iron ore to coke and coal, from Brazil to China, to the grains that we transport all around the world. We trade electricity. We trade natural gas. We trade coke and coal. And so there's a very large trading component of Cargill as well. So I think that's enough about the company. I'll tell you a little bit about Cargill Animal Nutrition. Some of our businesses, I think, actually compete with Mr. Green. We've got about 17,000 employees all around the world in 2 business units or 2 profit centers that we call Cargill Animal Nutrition. One's Cargill Feed and Nutrition. That's the business that I represent. And in that business, we've got about 10,000 employees in 27 countries, and we make complete feed for the animals. We bought a business 2 years ago called Previmi. It was Cargill's largest acquisition at the time, and still is, I think, $2 billion we paid for Previmi. And that business has about 7,000 employees. So we welcomed 7,000 employees into the Cargill family just about 2 years ago tonight, and it's really, really strengthened our business. So 2 years into the acquisition of Previmi, we decided to roll out our global strategy. And for us, and probably for most of you during your working careers, strategy is a great way for you to drive change into your business. So last week, we gathered up our top 250 employees, and we introduced them to our new strategy, which we called Cargill Animal Nutrition, or CAN 2020. And with that, I'd like to show you a video that they put together. They put so much work into it, I thought it'd be great to show it.
At Cargill Animal Nutrition, we bring nourishment to a growing planet by feeding the world's livestock, poultry, fish, and pets. Our innovation helps animals grow with health and vitality. We're 17,000 employees working across 37 countries, but we're united in one mission: to offer innovative nutrition solutions for customers around the globe. Our expertise helps everyone from small backyard farmers to global integrated feed mill operators. Our customers who feed the world depend on us for the best raw materials and smartest formulations. Through them, our efforts reach the dinner tables of more than 1 billion people every day. By 2050, our planet will hold 9 billion people. That's a lot of families in need of affordable, high-quality protein. Feeding them is a challenge we're happy to help meet. We're committed to finding the best way to turn plants like corn, soybeans, and wheat into feed for shrimp, fish, and livestock. At Cargill Animal Nutrition, our discoveries ensure that animals and a growing hungry population thrive. Our scientific know-how and focus on reliability make us a strong, dependable link in the global food production chain. As the world grows, our customers' businesses will grow, and we'll be there as a trusted advisor to help them get to the next stage and help them feed a growing planet. At Cargill Animal Nutrition, we're helpers, and we're on a mission to improve life wherever our customers and communities bring us. What we know, we can teach: responsible agricultural practices, quality control, animal husbandry, and employee and feed safety. We're building 75 schools in Vietnam. We're training thousands of people to become competitive dealers, farmers, and technicians in Poland. We're donating poultry farms to schools in Asia and Latin America, and we're teaching students how to operate them. Our involvement is one stone in a path that can help lead to a stronger local economy and a higher standard of living for the whole community. We're proud that the work we do makes it possible to produce more food while demanding less of the earth. Clean water, rich soil, and fresh air. We aim for that to be a success for our business, as well as a gift for future generations. That's why we're always working to develop solutions that are sustainable while improving the value we bring to our customers and the world. We ask our customers, how can we help you succeed? Whether it's a poultry producer who needs in-depth data capture and analysis, a dairy farmer looking to increase milk production, a feed manufacturer that needs to keep costs down, or a dealer looking to grow in a local market, we can help. We have the market knowledge, the nutritional information, the predictive models, and the depth of research to help our customers reach their goals. We know our people are the key to our success. We love the business and believe in the values we deliver every day. For Cargill Animal Nutrition, success means working together to enrich lives and feed a growing world now and into the future.
Thank you. I cannot tell you how sore my hand was when I got done with that. No, I'm really proud of the team that did that, and I can honestly say I had nothing to do with it. But I think for us, it's important to note that we've got a strategy that we're going to come out with, but people don't commit to strategies. People don't commit to plans. They commit to causes. So think about the organization that you're going to lead, whether it's a large one, whether it's a small one, in a big company, a small company. People don't commit to plans, but they will commit to a cause. How do you create the cause? So with that, there's a couple things that I wanted to talk just a little bit to set the framework for why I think there's never, ever been a better time to be an entrepreneur in agriculture. The first one are the forces that we talk about that are shaping the world. You've all heard about the growing middle class. In the next, from 2015 to 2025, you will have an extra 1.1 billion people in the world that will reach middle class status. 1.1 billion people in the world that will reach middle class status. That means they're going to have more money, and then when they have more money, what are they going to buy? More food, right? And when they buy more food, what do they typically like to buy? Protein. Once you get the taste of protein in your diet, it is no longer fun to eat rice and wheat. And we saw that through the 2007-2008 recession in Cargill. Our businesses were surprisingly resilient in the protein space, even though the economy was pretty rough. In markets like China, for example, we saw very little decline in the amount of protein produced. The other thing is kind of the changing concentration of GDP growth. So by 2025, 60% of the world's GDP will come from just 600 cities. 60% of the world's GDP will come from 600 cities, and of those 600 cities, 300 of them will be in Africa and Asia. So the center of gravity of the world is tipping, and it's tipping more towards Asia and Africa than it is the US and Europe. We talk about emerging market companies that are showing up and buying a lot of companies. Maybe the best example of that would be Shineway. Anybody heard of Shineway? I know Ken has. Shineway's acquisition of Smithfield. So you had one of the largest integrated pork and beef companies in the U.S., Smithfield Farms. They've been around for a long time. They acquired such companies as Murphy Brown, and Shineway, the Chinese company, acquired them, and I think that concluded about 60 days ago. So it gives you an example where your competition is coming from. The highest buyer for Pravimi was a little over $2 billion, and it was a Chinese company. It was a Chinese company called Dabinyang, and they've only been in business for 15 years, but they had all the backing of the China Construction Bank. And if it wouldn't have been for all the turbulence in the world and the amount of approvals they would have gotten, they would have actually ended up with the company of Pravimi, which Cargill was fortunate enough to buy. So I think there is a lot of change in the world, and that's why agriculture needs entrepreneurs like you. And you're going to hear that over and over from us tonight. How many of you have read Lester Brown's book, Full Planet, Empty Plates? Ronnie, what'd you think of it? How would you sum it up? Sorry to put you on the spot, but since you read it.
That we're going to have a planet full of people by 2050, and that the challenge is how we're going to have a safe and reliable food supply around the world. We need to innovate that while having a sustainable way to do it.
It's a great summary. How many of you are involved in ag and ag econ? Some way, somehow. So the vast majority of people, if you're involved in agriculture, you should really read that book, because you'll go home and tell your parents, man, I am so happy that I picked a career in agriculture, because it is a fantastic book. What Mr. Brown basically says is feeding the world is the greatest challenge of the 21st century. So what he talks about is the 9.5 billion people that will be on this planet by 2050. And what he gives us is a whole bunch of statistics that I think are designed to scare us and, or make us believe in the challenge. You know, he talks about the three challenges that we've got. The first challenge that we have is potentially climate change. And so whether or not you want to believe in global warming, that's another debate for another time. But what we can say is over the last 10 years, the amount of volatility in our weather has been amazing. We've had droughts in Australia. We've had droughts in Europe. We had a drought for a while last summer in the US, but before that we had floods. Whatever your bias is on climate change, there certainly is a lot more weather volatility, and that's obviously playing a large role in some of the higher grain prices that we've had. He also talks about the declining yields. So we've got declining yields in both wheat and rice, which are the two major grains of the world. And the third and final thing was just basically water shortage. You know, we've got acute shortages of water in over 20% of the world. He offers a really interesting statistic. He said that you can feed, every year, we've got about 89 million people that are born. So that's basically one Great Britain each and every year that we create of new customers for agriculture. If you drill that down a little further, that's 220,000 people a day that are added to the universe. 220,000 people a day. So then you drill that down a little further, and if you think about those people that are coming into the world, they're probably Asia, Africa, so they probably live on about 1,200 calories a day. Now, how many of you live on 1,200 calories a day? And a Big Mac and a large Coke and a fry is how many calories? 1,300 maybe a little bit more than that, depends on if you supersize or not, but they can be pretty big. Well, basically you can get about 18,000 calories out of an acre of land. So every day we need about 14,600 new acres to come into production to feed those mouths. So there's a lot of interesting statistics in the book, and again, I think if you read it, you'll be super happy that you're in agriculture, and I think it does point to a very bright future because these problems are all opportunities. These are all opportunities that we can solve with resources that are beyond our control today. I like this chart, and what it basically shows is, I don't like it, but it's easy to see. What it says is you've got, in this world today, you've got 4.5 billion people, 4.5 billion people whose GDP per capita, so these are these two yellow lines, is less than about less than $3,000. That's a whole lot of people in this world. 4.5 billion people that have a GDP per capita of about $3,000. Our GDP per capita in the US is right here. It's between $37 and $40 million. As these folks get more income and more money, they're going to eat more food and more protein, and that's what this line is. So as you go up, and let's just say you get to about right here, you know, you get to almost tripling the amount of protein if we could just get their incomes to say $10,000, $13,000 per year. And that, I think, is what makes Mr. Brown a little nervous about the future, is that you got more people, but you also have more people that are going to make more money that are going to want to eat better. And that's the opportunity for us in agriculture. In and amongst all that, we've got to do this. We've got to solve this problem in a sustainable way. We've got to do it in a way that's very sustainable and repeatable for your grandchildren. And that also adds just one more element to the challenge that we've got. So now I'd like to shift the focus a little bit. If there's any questions on that section, my basic premise was to try to help you all understand why we get really excited about a future in agriculture and the reason that agriculture needs entrepreneurs like you. Now we'll switch gears a bit and we'll talk about entrepreneurs. So when you think about entrepreneurs, what names come to mind?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Mike, what comes to mind when you think about entrepreneurs?
Steve Jobs,
Bill Gates. Michael Dell. Ann? Paul Engler. I was waiting for somebody to mention that. I knew Ann would do it sooner or later. Anybody else?
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson. That's a good name. Anybody else? Anybody closer to home?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Say that again?
C.L. Warner.
C.L. Warner? So does anybody know who this is? He was on 60 Minutes on Sunday night. I was thinking about this presentation, thinking about entrepreneurs, and he shows up on TV. Sheldon?
GoPro.
GoPro. How many of you have a GoPro? How many of you know what a GoPro is? Sheldon, what's a GoPro?
It's a device you can mount on anything really that allows you to capture images without relying on another person to be there.
Yeah, you put it on your head, your helmet, whatever. You've probably seen them. They can go underwater. So he did exactly what all entrepreneurs do, and Mr. Green talked about last year. He figured out the unmet need. He was tired of going to this racetrack where he was taking Ferrari driving lessons, and he got tired of taping his camera onto one of the posts of the car, and he figured, well, wait a minute, there's got to be a different way to do this. I'm not the only one in the world that needs a camera on the go. So he invented GoPro. All right, here's one. Who is that? And you can't say if we talked about it earlier today. Who is that? He may have changed America almost as much as the internet and Mr. Gore. Anybody have a guess? Whether you like it or not, George Mitchell is the father of fracking. He recently passed away at, I think, the age of 84 or 85. He started dreaming about fracking back in the 70s. He was an oil man. He went boom and bust like a lot of entrepreneurs many times over. But at the end of the day, he saw his dream come true, and he is the one that invented fracking and actually figured out a way to commercialize it. Probably the most unknown person in America that could have as big an impact as probably any of the technologies we've seen in the last 20 years. And finally, who mentioned Richard Branson? Richard Branson. I think he's a great example of an entrepreneur. He never takes no for an answer. He keeps trying, he keeps pushing, and I think he sets a good example. I went out on the internet. I typed in entrepreneurs at UNL, and what did I come up with? So it looks like Ann and Tom and Ronnie Green. So there's a lot of stuff out there on the internet. I'd ask you to be careful what you type in because you never know what's going to come up. But think about Mr. Green's definition. Do these people, and I think you all know them pretty well, do they have and seek opportunities beyond the resources that they currently control? We wouldn't be here in the Engler program if they didn't do that. Oh, don't worry, Ann, we'll get you a copy of that. Not to worry. No, but I think they're great examples. There's entrepreneurs of all different types. So we've talked about the ones that are maybe more famous and the ones that probably, hopefully someday will even be more famous than that. One of the things that, as you think about entrepreneurship, you're not going to be a great entrepreneur unless you're a great leader. At Cargill, I know Mike and Sheldon and Steve have seen this before. This is what we call our leadership model, and basically this is how we look at each of our employees and how we're developing. How are we developing our learning capacity? Are we curious? Are we always out trying to learn more than we're taught? How about our execution capacity? You know, if you can't execute, you're not going to get very far in the world of business. How about our behaviors? It's not only about what you do, it's how you do it. How you treat other people, how you develop the people that you're privileged to serve. And finally, knowledge, or what I would call is your business acumen, your competence. And so we try to narrow it down, and as we sit down every 6 months with all the people we're privileged to lead, we actually walk through this model and we grade ourselves and see how we're doing. But don't miss the very center, integrity, conviction, and courage for an entrepreneur. Which one of those is most important for an entrepreneur or a leader? Integrity? Why is that?
It's foundational to trust, which is foundational to all relationships.
Does everybody agree with Haley? Integrity? Yeah, if you don't have that, if you don't have integrity, but you've got a lot of courage and a lot of conviction, you could really have a train wreck. And I think we're probably all pretty familiar with a lot of companies where there was a tremendous amount of courage and a tremendous amount of conviction, but in the absence of integrity, there were a lot of people that were hurt by it. So I think that's a good call out. The values that you have define the culture of the organization that you lead. And in the business that I'm associated with and responsible for, we want to be really clear with our employees about the kind of culture that we want to set. Because if we set the right culture, we know we're going to attract the right people, and we know that people that don't like that culture probably either need to leave the organization or they're probably not going to be attracted to us. So we start out with 3 expectations of our employees. We ask them to live the values of the business. So we've got integrity, respect for others, commitment to serve, and a passion for success. Probably not any different than the values that most of us in this room hold. We ask them to love the business and believe in the value that they create every day for our customers. And let's face it, in agriculture, it's hard work. It is not easy. It doesn't matter if you're farming, if you're working in Mr. Green's business, it is a roll-up-your-sleeves kind of business. And if you don't love the business, and if you don't have passion for it, there's probably a better place for you to work. It wouldn't be at Cargill Animal Nutrition. And then finally, you've got to execute with excellence. There's a great slide. It says the other 98%, execution. So you can have a great strategy, you can have great leadership, but if you don't have the execution, your business isn't going to accomplish the goals that you set out to have. So how come so much focus on culture? Recently we got a slide from a company, and they summed it up like this: culture eats strategy for breakfast. So if you've got a mediocre culture, if you're satisfied with just good enough is okay for you, it doesn't matter how good your strategy is. It doesn't matter how great the leaders are. The culture is going to consume the organization. Think about the culture here at the University of Nebraska. It's probably one of the main reasons why you all chose the University of Nebraska. And I think it's really important, and it's something that we spend a lot of time on in our business at Cargill. We've got to have an entrepreneurial culture. If we don't have an entrepreneurial culture, those companies in China are going to be much more, they're going to grow much faster than our company. And so we've got to be really careful with that. So we spend a lot of time on culture, and at the very heart of that is our values. Better Nutrition for Better Lives is the strategy that we rolled out to all of our employees. And again, the only reason I show this is that your employees will not sign up for strategic plans. They won't sign up to follow strategies. They will sign up to follow causes. And for us, as we surveyed all of our global employees, we asked them to sum it up. What's it like to work in Cargill Animal Nutrition? And they came back. We had about 1,500 people respond across the business of animal nutrition. They came back and they said, you know what, in the end, if we execute this strategy well, if we deliver better nutrition for all the customers that we serve, we will have better lives. We'll have better lives for our own families. We'll have better opportunities for ourselves. And obviously, we're going to do much, much better for our customers. And so when you think about the cause that you create at your own organization, we've summed ours up into Better Nutrition for Better Lives at the very heart of our strategy. Without hearts and minds, people won't follow you. This is a slide I pulled out. It's called 7 Elements of an Entrepreneurial Culture. And so we take very seriously the challenge that Mr. Green gave us last year. Big companies are, by their very nature, slow. How do we create a company that can move quickly and regenerate itself and renew itself faster than our competition? So in our culture, we talk about 7 elements of an entrepreneurial culture. The first one, we say, face reality as it is, not as it was, or not as you wish it to be. That sounds so easy on a piece of paper, and it is so hard to do. And it fits really well with the second one. If you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. Get out. Fix it, sell it, close it. Again, sounds very easy to do, but we've had to really come back to these and cite examples and tell stories in our business, so it's become a fabric of our culture in the way that we speak. Change before you're forced. It is so difficult to do that. And as leaders and as entrepreneurs, our job is to drive change. Leadership is all about change, and management's all about complexity. So you've got to change before you're forced. The fourth one is all about being curious and continuing to look for the next opportunity, learn more than you're taught. The only way for our business, and the only way for any business, to survive over a long period of time is to learn faster than your competition. And so we've summed that up into learn more than you're taught. The fifth one, be candid with everyone. And in Cargill, we have a really interesting definition for candor. It's just get the truth out quickly. Don't beat around the bush. We've got a lot of trust in the organization. Get the truth out quickly and be candid. Manage things and lead people. And then finally, back to execution. The other 98%, execute relentlessly. Any questions? Okay. How many of you have seen this quote before by Peter Drucker? The best way to manage change is to create it. The best way to manage change is to create it. And I expect you could say the only way to manage change is to create it. And I think all great entrepreneurs, they are not managed by change, but they are out creating change. And there's a great formula. It's called the entrepreneur's formula. Dissatisfaction with the status quo. Have you ever met an entrepreneur or a great leader that was satisfied with the way things are? They always want things to be better. Doesn't matter how good things are. They want them to be better. So dissatisfaction with the status quo multiplied by vision, or V. A vision to inspire a compelling future. A vision for what could be. One of the most innovative people in Cargill is Mike Lewis. And Mike Lewis said to me 2 words tonight that you'll hear from every entrepreneur. Those words were, imagine if. Imagine if. You'll hear those words all the time because they're always thinking about the future and they're always wondering about possibilities. So you've got dissatisfaction, you know things can be better. You've got the vision, imagine if. Entrepreneurs have the uncanny ability to take those practical first steps. They don't stay stuck. They don't stay stuck with the idea in their head. They somehow figure out, what do I got to do next to move that ball just a little bit further? You can call that execution, or you can call it whatever you'd like, but it's a really unique characteristic. They know exactly what to do to push just a little bit further to overcome that resistance to change. And there's probably one more element to the entrepreneur's formula that I would add, and that's called confidence. Confidence is the secret ingredient. One of the most important jobs of a leader is to instill confidence in the people that we're all privileged to lead and the people that we work with every day. It doesn't matter if you're working for a school, for a hospital, for Cargill, or for Ken Green. We've got to give our people confidence, because if we don't, they're not going to take any risk. They're not going to take any risk. If the culture of the organization is fear of failure, they're not going to take the chances that you need them to take to really take things to the next level. So I think it's probably something that we don't talk much about in school, but I can tell you there's no more greater gift to the teams that you lead than to give them the gift of confidence. It will inspire great things, I promise. This is a really good slide. Again, it came from our IT department, but to me it just embodies, it really embodies the journey that we're all on in life and the journey of an entrepreneur, because just when you think you are at the top of the mountain, what comes up? There's another mountain to climb. There is always another mountain to climb, and great entrepreneurs, they're resilient. They get to that top of the mountain. Maybe it's been a hard struggle, but they are always resilient and they're always seeking to do better. And so I guess what I'd like to say is I'd end up saying very sincerely, agriculture needs entrepreneurs like you. We are not going to solve the issues and the problems that Mr. Brown talks about in his book unless we've got entrepreneurs like you. There has never been a better time to be an entrepreneur in agriculture. And in fact, I don't think it's just agriculture that needs entrepreneurs like you. But I think it's actually the world that needs entrepreneurs like you. And so that's the exciting thing that we've all got to look forward to. There's a great quote by Steve Jobs. How many of you have read Steve's book? It's a fantastic book. And in that book it says, we're all here to put a dent in the universe. Otherwise, why else would we even be here? This Engler program has got a phenomenal opportunity to make a dent in this world. And for that, I think we owe Paul Engler a great round of applause. Thank you. So I'll leave you just one final question, and the question I'll ask is, what future will you create? You've got the world ahead of you. What future do you want to create with your time here in Nebraska and beyond? So thank you for your time tonight. Thanks for your attention. Appreciate it. That's such a good song, I got to play it for just a little longer. If that song doesn't inspire you, I'm not sure what will. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Now we're just going to open up the floor for questions for anyone. Dylan will hand you guys a mic over there, and I can hand you one from here.
I have a really, really important question. The picture with Ann and Tom and all them, is that available for sale?
Mr. Field, you should tell them your strategy here.
Oh, it is going to be so expensive. We've been looking for a symbol for our program. The sombrero may have just won the day. Ronnie's going to wear it all over the stage.
Oh, I'm sure.
Joe, can you share a little bit about just your undergraduate experience at UNL and kind of your entrepreneurial endeavors here?
You know, I was probably, on a good day, a C student at Nebraska. Part of that was for a reason that I got involved in a few activities that were kind of fun, and most of my wife helped me out with. One of which is she loaned me $100 to buy a pinball machine, and that's a true story. And I need to pay her back, I think, one of these days too. And it was really interesting because after having that pinball machine for a few days and walking down every day and cleaning out that change, I thought, why don't I get 2 pinball machines? And so probably by the end of my junior year, I think I had a Space Invaders or an asteroids machine or a pinball machine in most of the fraternities on campus, which allowed me to get to know most of the students at that time. And so that was one thing. And then one summer we had the opportunity to, we showed up at the miniature golf course on 27th and Cornhusker. It was a putt-putt. And I was involved with the Big Brothers Big Sisters program at that time. I was going to take my little brother out to eat, which we did, and he always ate about $15 worth of food at the Dairy Queen. And we wanted to play mini golf to work off some of that energy, and we went and it said it was closed, and there was a little sign that said, "Any questions, call this number." So I called him and I said, "Are you going to open it?" And the guy said, "Well, no, I really don't have any way to open it because the person that was going to run it quit." I said, "Well, you know, I've never run a mini golf course, but if you'd be interested, maybe we could work out some lease profit sharing arrangement." And he said, "Well, can you drive to Des Moines on Friday night?" Well, this was Thursday, and I drove to Des Moines. Long story short, I got the job. And then finally, the last thing, when I was a junior, I worked a little bit with Coach George Darlington at the Nebraska Football School, and we had some interesting designs on T-shirts that we were able to market through the Nebraska football program. And so I wasn't involved in some of the clubs that you all are graced with today, but there was a lot that was going on, and it gave me a good excuse to not have the best grades that I would have liked to have had. But I think it just shows you the opportunities. You really don't know what's going to pop up. I firmly believe that we all are born with the same amount of luck, and it does take good luck to have some good fortune in your life. There's no doubt about it. But I also think that great entrepreneurs and great leaders make the most out of the luck that they're given. And I think they're really able to step back and say, gosh, this is pretty interesting. Maybe I should pursue this a little further. And so they really maximize the return on the luck that good fortune has established. So I think maybe that's one thing. I think we're all given the same amount of luck, but hopefully we can just take advantage of it a little better when we do get it. So thanks for the question, Haley.
I guess I got a question for you. Entrepreneurship focuses around a problem and solving that problem, and so I guess with your emphasis on the feeding the world's population and the future, where are some key areas where you see opportunities or where you see a problem that needs fixed that can then help our future entrepreneurs generate ideas on how to get working on that problem?
It's a great question, Dylan. I'd open it up to anybody else too. Mike or Ken, would you guys like to take a shot first at Dylan's question? Where do you see opportunities in agriculture today and some of the problems to solve?
I think I can make that question real easy. The way to think about it is just any way you experience the world, look at the things
frustrate you, and figure out a way to change that. That's all you got to do.
Ken, would you like to take a stab at that one? That's great. It's a great question. I think that Mike answered it pretty well. The other thing is, it depends on what you want to do with your careers. There's a lot of opportunities inside the United States, and there's a tremendous amount of opportunities outside the United States. I think fracking is probably going to bring manufacturing back to our country at a rate that we haven't seen for many, many years. But read the newspapers and read them well, because every day, the front page, the back page, the middle page is littered with opportunities that we can all take advantage of. So if we're going to solve the problem in this world to feed 9.5 billion people, it's going to come from technology. We're not likely to have more land. We're not likely to have more water. It's going to come from the technology that we all develop. Thanks, Dylan.
I have a question. Knowing what you know now, what piece of advice would you have given your undergrad self?
What piece of advice would I give? I don't really have a lot of advice. I would say take the opportunity to experience new things. We talked a lot the last 2 days about passion, and we all have things that we believe we're passionate about, but sometimes you can be very passionate about things once you learn them. Take the time to learn new things. I never thought I'd be passionate about the animal nutrition business. 5 years ago, I was not. I was passionate about the grain trading business. And just think about your own lives. There's a lot of times that you think you're passionate about something, but until you've really learned it, you may surprise yourself. You may develop a real passion. We talked earlier today. Tom Field probably didn't have a deep passion for running entrepreneurships 5 years ago. Today, Tom Field is extremely passionate about making this the best entrepreneurship program in the country. And I have no doubt in my mind he's going to do it because he's deeply passionate about it. Thanks.
Joe.
Hey, Steve.
Since Cargill is growing at such a rapid rate and you're able to take 80% of your profits and put it right back into the company, you obviously have a lot of company mergers and buyouts like the company Provimi. What is it about the Cargill culture that allows for those mergers to happen with ease?
I think the family has a lot of confidence. At the end of the day, what you have in a company is people bet on teams, right? They're never going to know all the last dollars and decimals of every project you put in front of them, but I think that's where the entrepreneurship comes in. It's up to us at every level of the organization in Cargill to come up with those ideas that are going to grow the company. And we need those ideas if we're going to create a new Cargill every 7 years. So sometimes when we think about entrepreneurship, we think about startups, but it only takes a small army to go buy big companies. We bought a company called Joe Malt White just 2 months ago. It's one of the biggest malting companies in Australia. The Chinese like to drink beer, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. That company is going to ship a lot of malt to the Chinese malting industry out of Australia. It took one person with an idea to originate that, and it took a team quickly to mobilize around it and say, it fits our strategy, it fits our vision, it fits our business model, and they were able to execute it. So it all starts with people. The closer to the customer, the better. That's where the best ideas come from. So thank you all for your questions tonight. I really appreciate it. I really thank you for the opportunity to come and speak and be a part of the Engler program. It is a great program. Tom and the team have really got us on a fantastic course, and I'm very optimistic about seeing what you and what this program will create in the future. Thank you very much.